Hey pack leaders, this is him from Presale, protecting family, protecting pack, and this is I'm gonna be telling a story of how and why I got into crypto. So it's gonna be maybe a several video part series, and I'll put it into a little playlist here and kind of refer to my notes. I'm not the best video editor, and I'm not gonna edit it, so I'm just gonna plow through my little bullet point here and kind of just start. So give you a little background. I grew up. Um, in LA, and my dad was always working. He was always making donuts at night. So, I had to wait, long hours just to, wait for him to come home. And when he comes home, he'll be pretty tired. And throughout, just growing up, he'll, it's just like when I'm going to school, he is, I'm not seeing him. When I come back, he's sleeping, and by the time he wakes up, he's gone, and then by the time he's gone, I'm sleeping. So then he'll come back in the morning, but then he might be able to like drop us off to school or whatever. And it was just kind of like small times here and there where he's able to kind of show up for us. Most of the time, I think we ate dinner on our own, with just either by myself or my mom, and it was just very limited time. So throughout the time, I was like, we ended up taking over owning a donut shop. So my parents was running that for a while, and there was just money fights a lot. He wanted to save. He's a saver. He doesn't want to get into debt and all this other stuff. And my mom was more like, hey, let's just invest. We need this donut shop. We need the building on it. So let's just do it. And don't worry about the shovel. Because debt could be a shovel to buy property that makes money, right? So it makes sense. And then sometimes they'll have money fights, and and there were times where they was my dad would hit my mom, you know, at the apartment that we were staying at, and it was just kind of heartbreaking just to be able to just seeing that and not being able to stop it. I'd just be like, Dad, stop. And it was just like, it was heartbreaking. It was tough, you know, thinking back. And then I started taking Taekwondo, learning about self defense. I don't know if I did it just for the purpose of protecting my mom, but I did learn it. And then one day, I was like older and bigger now, and it happened again at the donor shop, where he was about to go and grab my mom like around the back, and I just went and grabbed my dad and just headlocked him, and then I kind of did this little twist with my leg behind him, so he tripped out onto the ground in the back of the donor shop. And then he was about to get up, but I saw that somehow what I don't know what I did. He had a little crack on his forehead where it was bleeding, and I was about to go down, and just kind of give one last blow to like send him back down. But I couldn't do it. It was just I don't know. It was just maybe just for all the injustice that I've experienced with him, and the heartbreak with my mom and all this other stuff, and him hitting my mom and stuff like that. Just kind of just getting back from it. But I don't know. I couldn't do it just out of disrespect and or respect for him. So I just ran out of the donor shop. He was throwing a bunch of stuff. Like I think I don't know if he threw a knife or whatever, but just things trying to get me back. And I just ran out and just took off and went to my friend's house. And it was like, wow, I just kind of thought about it, and I was like, yeah, I don't ever want it to, hit my kids or anything like that, but or just have money fights basically. So, anyways, speed fast forward to then, my life was either like take over the donut shop or go to college. So I was like, all right, let's do the college thing. So I didn't, take any school. Oh, I got school loans on my own. Just paid myself through college and stuff. Got my aerospace engineering degree, and then started doing trajectory engineering for a while, where it was just like a shooting method where you set a trajectory profile, how much thrust and whatever it's going to drop stages, and then deploy the payload. And you have all these initial guesses, and as long as you can drive the the guess of it to a point where it's within a certain range, the software will then converge and solve the trajectory for you. And so sometimes we'll break them up in pieces and solve them that way, so that we take a complicated trajectory and then reduce it to a small amount. So with that, that's you kind of see where that leads up to, where I was able to use that, which is just kind of perturbing. You kind of just get the initial guesses and you just knock them back and forth, and just keep running trajectories over and over until eventually it guides it into a converged solution. Okay. About 2008, then I started getting bored. I created a script to kind of automate all that, and eventually just kind of got bored with trajectories because it was just easy to solve, I guess. I don't know. And then about 2008, I got laid off, and then it was like, wow, actually before that, when I started doing aerospace engineering, I noticed that whenever I got the paycheck, and it was just my first day out of working and everything, I was like, dude, that's cool, my first paycheck, all right, cool. And then I was like, oh well, I kind of want more money, so let me just work more hours, right? And the more I worked, it was like, dude, they're taking 30%, and then the more I worked, 39%, 40%. And I'm just like, wait a minute, so I'm being penalized to work harder. Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, why am I getting more taxes for doing more hours and working harder, right? It's just like I'm making more money. Like, what's going on? What's this thing? And so just kind of basic research and just learning about it all. Well, you gotta learn about taxes, and you gotta, in order to get tax deductions, you gotta start a business, and after you start a business, then you can deduct the stuff that you have. And then with that, you still get taxed as a business too. So you have the corporation, limit liability, whatever, pass-through taxation, and then all that. Like, dude, we're still getting taxed. Like, there's really no way. The more you make, the more you get taxed, and then also your expenses go up, and all this stuff, right? And there's just no way out. So eventually, I kind of learned about all that, and then we'll kind of fast forward. So then eventually, I did get a lot. In 2009, I got another job, and then a month later, got laid off from that too. And then just said, you know what, maybe I'll just, try real estate in the 2008 crash. So I did make some sales and leases with commercial real estate, and got the broker's license, but just wasn't moving enough inventory in 2008. The recession was like too long, like over 2 years. Finally quit after 2 years, but then that's when the market started to take off. I was like, whatever. So I was like, it wasn't for me because I was just out there in the hot suit and just kind of waiting for clients, and I just didn't like, I noticed that when I stopped going out, seeing clients, stop, working every day, like going out, I stopped getting paid. It's no different than any job, right? And I just kind of remembering back to my dad always working too. Like, I didn't want that for my kids, so I wanted to find something where there's some kind of thing where you can build and it'll just pay itself over and over. Something like that. I didn't know what that was yet. So eventually we end up taking the donor shop, just like trying to figure things out, and trying to make some money. And I was like, well, maybe it's a business. So my parents wanted to give up their donor shop, and they were retired, so we took it over. And I was married at the time. 2008 we got married, so it was about maybe a year or two before we started taking it over the donor shop. As soon as we got into the shop, we found out we were pregnant with Penelope, our first daughter. And so we did what we could. Like, it was tough times because, like, Amber, my wife, was she had morning sickness for 3 months. She just leveled, couldn't get up, just didn't feel good. And so we just took her to the donor shop and had to do everything. And we're working 16-hour days, just opening, from making donuts at 10 o'clock at night till 4 o'clock in the morning, and selling those donuts till about 8 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night. And then so you have from 10 to 2 to kind of like, wow. Anyway, to kind of get, I think you have a little break somewhere in between, or maybe it was just almost 24 hours. At least it felt that way. Because we did close for the shop between 10 till 6 is when we closed, but we still had to work extra hours to make the donuts and then sell them, right? So anyways, I was just doing the math, and I was like, it's so my wife's pregnant. I want to be there for her. The baby's coming soon, so I just kind of eventually hired out everything, just cashiers, bakers, donuts, and whatever, and did the math. And I was like, dude, we're making $4 an hour, and I'm hiring these guys for $8 an hour. And I'm losing $4 for every hour that they're working, and I didn't care because it was just I wanted to be there for my first kid, so it was just a special moment, I guess, and I don't want to miss out on that, right? And So after about maybe a year and a half of running that shop, we racked up 90K in debt because starting up a new name business, we had to get back onto new codes. We started with 30,000 in debt, getting new plumbing, new sinks, and whatever codes that were in there, just to get the shop up and running again. We made sure all the taxes were paid, license and permits, which my parents wasn't on top of that, but whatever. Anyways, so once it was all squared away, it was just very little profit at the end of the day, or losing, just sinking in debt. About a year and but after that, it was we couldn't make our first month's rent, and it was just my parents kind of came back and did a hostile takeover, took over their shops and said, hey, you know what, you're not doing a good job, and we're taking it over. I was like, all right, fine. We did raise the income from $300 a day to $800 a day, and and yeah, we did the best we could, but it was just the more we made, the more we hire, the more supplies, and it's just someone was like, why wasn't it making sense? There's something wrong there. All right, so then we had some tough times, bankruptcy, lost the house to bankruptcy, and then just stay at my friend's house where he was he had a brother who was doing real estate, so just helping him find property, flip them, and all that stuff. And then eventually got into a 9-to-5 job working at this place called Burger Bullets, doing bullets. Well, actually, it was a machine that does everything. You just have to fill the materials in, and it just does it for you. And I was like, maybe there's something wrong with me. Maybe I'm not consistent. Maybe I can't do a boring task over and over. Maybe I just need a job to figure that out. And just some sanctification training with my spirit. Maybe I'm lazy. I don't know. I can't focus. So I need to do something boring, just focus on it and whatnot. So, anyways, it was a great experience just to be into a spiritual side, and I was able to listen to the Bible, doing the boring task of sorting, checking bullets for quality. I was able to listen to the Bible over like 2-3 times, and it's like, oh, I never really listened to the entire Bible, and so it takes about 2.5 days to listen to all that. And through it all, just praying and trying to understand what was going on. I was doing e-commerce at the time, doing t-shirt selling, Shopify, and Facebook ads and lots of other stuff. And had some success there, where I was able to learn from a mentor that showed me like, hey, it's not all about what I can do consistently. It's about setting up a system where you put a team from researching to designing to uploading and then launching ads over and over again. And I'll do myself. I'll do like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'll try and design myself, but my designs suck, and and then just like about the 4th or 5th one, I'm like, dude, it's not working. What's going on? And you ask the group like, so how many did you launch? Well, like, I did 5. Like, dude, I launched like 50. I'm like, dude, how do you launch 50? And so basically, it's just about numbers. It's a chop shop where you just constantly fail. So we had a team cranking out shirts all the time, and about 50 designs later, and they were able to do that within like less than a week. Like, I was like, wow, for me to crank out 5, that took me like a week to do, right? It would take me like forever to get 50 up. So within that 50 designs, we found the one that made like $30,000 in sales just off the one design, and we scaled it out to different niches and whatever, just that one slogan they were saying. And that kind of rang the bell to me. It wasn't how hard I worked, and it was just more about the quantity of scale and putting that team together and using their expertise to create a really good design. They can do it faster, better. They have more experience on it, and they've done it so many times that they've gotten better and better and better at it, and they can do it much quicker, cycling through the same consistent thing over and over. And that kind of just like, wow. So building that team, setting up a system was key to really break into any business, because the business has so many components into it, and I could see that, wow, there's something there. Eventually, over time, a lot of people did get into the market too. Ads went up, and I was like, if I stop selling a t-shirt and the design dies, I'm back to, it was just like that same problem. Once we saturate the market with that same shirt and no one else wants it, that's it. And so I was like, all right, it's got to be subscription. It's got to be something that's monthly recurring in order to bring that consistency back in. So I started looking to membership sites, then software and digital stuff, and that's kind of where we are today, kind of thing. So anyways, we didn't get into that stuff later until I ended up moving from burger bullets after a year work for them, to going to SEO company and working for like 2-3 months, and I was like, I'm done with that too. And then we came back and I started focusing more on e-commerce, and then experiencing what I experienced with the inconsistencies of that. And then you're constantly having to find new stuff and kind of launching over and over. It's kind of always looking for an interview every time. And then once the sale is done, that's it. You kind of that's kind of it. I didn't know how to nurture and kind of upsell more physical products, but as physical products go up in price too, then margins get even thinner, and it's like, okay, it's like another problem. So it kind of took a while. The e-commerce still running and stuff like that, but it was just enough. So I started doing Lyft and Uber, and I was like, why am I having all these problems with money? Like, what's the issue here? And then so I was like, during downtime, I was just sitting in the parking lot, my Lyft app on, Uber app on, just waiting. It was just really slow. So I was just, looking like on YouTube, and it was like, all right, so what is money? Like, why am I need to learn what money is. And so I searched on YouTube and I found Mike Maloney's video on the hidden secrets of money. And then, and somewhere along the line, what I learned was that, which I'll link in below. It's a 10-part series now from today. But basically, the gist of it is that it's all created out of thin air, backed by nothing. It used to be backed by gold, but now that the government has taken us off that in 1971, but we were already bankrupt by 1913, which is why the Federal Reserve came in, to kind of be a central banking to last lender, last resort. But because through how much money they're printing now, backed by nothing, increases it causes inflation, so prices increase. But you can see how it's all kind of set up where first you work, you get taxed on that work, you work more, they tax you more. On top of that, then they go, oh, you have lots of income because you paid more taxes. You can get a loan, which then puts you in debt to that. So you're trying to pay that off. Where you're going to work, and then gas prices go up. So that the more you work, the more you go to work, and then the commute, you pay on that too, and then you're taxing the gas too. And then by hey, I can't get by, or emergency, you're gonna need a credit card. And so you kind of start to see where it starts to kind of think, like it starts to put you into a negative position. And then as you're trying to pay all these off, as they create more money into the money supply, real estate prices and since go up, everything else goes up, gas prices go up, food goes up, and there's a hidden tax called inflation, which then draws more. So it makes you have to work harder to earn the same things. On top of that, as the price is going up just to get food and just your day-to-day, you're being charged interest and taxed, and you can see how it just keeps knocking at you more and more and more and more. Okay, and you're like, dude, how do I get out of this once you get into this perpetual debt slavery kind of thing? And so I started to realize, like, oh wow, I can see the big picture, and the real big picture is like this. The link I can probably link here is called fractional reserve banking, where our country, in a sense, uses debt to enslave countries, and it's easier to conquer a country by debt than by sword or with an army, right? And so basically, we send agents out there to try to corrupt them. Here's some money that we printed. We don't tell them that, but you can use that. And then if you want to build infrastructure like power plants and water plants, whatever, we have an American company that can build it for you. So the money comes right back to us, and then we build it for them. And if they can't pay for it, they go, hey, you know what? It's all good. You got some oil. Let's build a military base on there too. As soon as that's done, then we kind of conquered it, right? We have a military base on there. And they kind of do what we tell them to do. Otherwise, we have to send in the military, right? So you can see the scenarios of Gaddafi, Saddam Hussein, and even what's going on right now, the trade war. It's not really about the trade war. China's getting off our U.S. petrodollar, okay? Is it really about Syria? Well, no, it's about the pipeline. We're not trying to go there for humanitarian aid. We're trying to, protect that. And then, Venezuela. Oh yeah, there's humanitarian. Yeah. Well, they have lots of oil too. Russia, whatever, mingling with the elections and hacking our stuff, or China's hacking our stuff. Well, they're trying to get off the petrodollar also and go China petro yen. So all this conflict all boils down to the petro dollar or U.S. dollar. As long as the military can enforce our U.S. dollar, then the U.S. dollar will not. The dollar, yeah, like someone told me that the U.S. dollar will not collapse until our military starts to fail. It's kind of like the mafia saying, "Hey, use my fake money. If you don't, you're gonna die." And you're like, "Okay, well, I guess I'll use it." So there's demand for your fake money, right? And it'll always stay there, and it'll always enslave, and it'll always, take, you know, enslave everyone and conquer, everyone, as long as our military can enforce that. That's the value behind the U.S. dollar, if you would say. Okay, so as you see how World War One, World War Two, World War Three kind of starts to come out, you can't raise wars without having to print money and raise a lot of, you know, have unlimited spending power basically, because that war machine sucks up so much cash, and just tons of deficit spending. So, anyways, that's a big picture of, they call them the economic hitmans of the world. And my thoughts on it is, like, I understand what we're doing, but I understand that it's also genius. It's the best way to do it, and why send all these resources, lives, to go take over a country that when you can just use that. And the reason why I say that, there's a movie called Hero by Jet Li, where China was trying to unify, and even though the tyrant of the Qi Empire, or whatever, even though they thought he was a tyrant, he was, all he's is a murderous thing, but his whole sole goal at the end of the day was to unify China so that there would be no more wars. And I kind of feel like, using that perspective, he said all under heaven in Chinese, but in the English translation they call it our land. But just letting you know. And so there were assassins who were able to, in a sense, had the opportunity to assassinate the Chinese king at the time, or emperor, but realized that, hey, if I do this, it's just gonna fall into factions again. Everyone's gonna war, maybe 4 or 5 tribes, and they're still gonna try to take over each other again. And it's like, this guy got so far anyway, why not just let him do his thing and just globalize and unify China? And so I feel like, where we are today at this state, we're leaning towards globalization under one thing, under whoever's controlling it, right? The elites, you call them, okay? And this was done way before we were born. So even though we understand it, but also, but through it all of their globalization, people are gonna be indebted, people are gonna be enslaved, and there's gonna be wars and atrocities. But hopefully for the greater good. Hopefully that's their intention, to also globalize, since they're gonna globalize the a dollar, a global monetary system, right, with the IMF or whatever. So that's just my take on it. So that's how I can be at peace with what's going on, but then understand it, and then know how to use what you learn to better your families and your lives. Okay. So fast forward to today, realizing what's going on. Then I learned about Bitcoin, how that was created in 2008 to go against what was going on, to fight what was going on, the inflation, all that stuff, but to have a ledger that can be that everyone knows where everything's going on, with a limit of 21 million once it's all fully mined with Bitcoin. And so I started, getting to ICOs and EOS, and started investing in Ethereum, because when I was doing Uber, someone had introduced me to Ethereum when it was about $80. And I was like, oh, cool. I think it was $60 or $80 at the time, and it started creeping up to 140, 300, and then just took off to 1,000, and came back down to 80, 140, kind of thing. Well, I realized that there's a lot of opportunities there to for since it's moving so and call it volatility, which is good for trading. There's opportunities there to gain and bank on that. And I started looking into arbitrage. I was like, well, I'm not really a trader. I don't have a trading experience, but I wanted to at least get into buying low, sell high. There's just all this arbitraging stuff. So that's kind of how I started with arbitraging EOS, where it was still in the ICO phase. I would kind of get it from the ICO and then sell it in the exchange, and then cycle back up and buy it again, because there was this limitation where not all countries get access to buying EOS, but I found a way to do it. So that's what I did, and then kind of shared that with everyone, and people were able to kind of arbitrage a little bit until the ICO was ended. Then we couldn't do it anymore. Then I started to kind of, next phase was trade bots, to create an asset that can trade without having to constantly watch tick marks all day. And that's where I started to learn about, you know, Haas Online, getting that trade bot, and I was like, okay, cool, we got this trade bot that does what it does, but I have to like kind of change the settings back and forth and kind of tune the settings. I don't need to know how to trade. I just need to know that I put a number in and I back test it and I get a result, you know, and that's all I need to know. And it kind of looks similar to my trajectory analysis, where I was just like, here's a bunch of numbers, and, you know, it's all set up. All you do is push the numbers in, press play, and then see where it goes. Did it fly? Did it crash? Or whatever. And so I applied that same algorithm I did with my engineering work into the tuning thing, and was able to then back test and, you know, increase the ROI through my back testing. And then once that was done, to go forward test that to see that worked, and that worked, and, you know, flip it onto Live Wallet. Nowadays we just kind of flip it straight to a Live Wallet, because it just tunes every hour, keeps it up to date. So it's more like a machine learning kind of thing now, where it kind of just forward tests through. Let me back up a little bit. I want to talk about when I was going back to Burger Bullets, where it was hard going to work every day, where my daughter would be like, "Daddy," and, you know, I was like, "Daddy's gotta go to work. Say goodbye to Daddy." And she's like, "No, Daddy," and she like pulling her hand, and like, you know, you can feel the scratching, and what sucks was that I had to push her away and say, "Daddy has to go to work." And I felt the same way when, you know, growing up as a kid too, when you know, my dad had to leave for work, and eventually, you know, it just felt like being abandoned, and I felt like it was kind of like, you know, doing the same thing that I promised I wouldn't do to my own kids, you know, not being there for them, and here I am being that to my daughter. And so that was kind of painful at the time, and that kind of led me through this journey of, you know, finding something that's work, but then something that you can build, and not just have a job where once you stop working you have nothing left over but to sell your time over and over again. Okay. So anyways, started forming this wolf pack group, because, you know, wolves are about, you know, working as a pack, as a family, and in a sense helping other families do the same too, so that they wouldn't have conflicts, and that they can be there for their children and instill values to them. So that's what, you know, the Friends Are Any Wolfpack Group's all about. The name Friends Are Any I got from SEO thing back in the day. It just had a lot of you know, backlinks to it, so that's kind of how I kind of started Friends Are Any, just in case you're curious. And it just kind of branded it to a Wolfpack Group kind of thing. So we went with that, and then started, you know, creating this tuner thing. So I always was fascinated about creating a bot that can trade for me automatically. Started looking at back in the day and just didn't have the coding experience, and finally just hunkered down. I picked it up and just kind of just learned it, and kind of built it along the way as I had this vision in mind of what I wanted to do. And so now that this is like, I've written the code like, you know, 4 times. It's like the 4th time. It was scraping the data, updating it, and hitting the button, but it always broke because like it's all graphical, and the browser was slow, so that, you know, it just didn't run at the fastest performance. But after I was done writing it the 3rd time, Haas Online pushed out an API in which I could then do API calls, and I was like, I don't know if I really want to write it a 4th time. It's kind of like taking a test and failing, and then have to study for that same test again. It was just like, oh, it's a waste of time. I feel like it's just doing the same work over and over. I was like, oh. But I realized that there's something about mastery where you do the same thing over and over again, that you kind of get better and better and faster at it. So I was able to do the API version and recoding it a lot faster, less code actually, and it was a lot cleaner. And there's a lot of strategies I've kind of learned and built along the way on coding it, and kind of keeping it clean and tracking everything, so that I don't get so confused. It's not like a jumbled spaghetti mess anymore, and that's been helpful a lot. So that's how I was able to create the tuner to be able to share that with you guys, and then, you know, currently whoever has the tuner right now, the vision is to, you know, help other people who can't afford the tuner, to help them more manage their portfolio. And then as their portfolio grows and they're able to then grow and in a sense purchase the tuner, then they can use that to help another family. So it's kind of just passive forward kind of thing, help other families, but you charge management fee kind of thing just to get them going. And then as soon as they can be on their own, to then also kind of step up and help other families. Okay. So that's the overall vision of where it is, what I want to do, and how I came about to getting into crypto today. With the crypto thing, with the EOS and everything else, I built a portfolio from like up to 80K or something like that, and then just kind of held on to it. I didn't know how to trade, so I just kind of held, and I was like, oh, I'm doing pretty good. And then it crashed, and it came back down. So, it's kind of, it's still there. I mean, I understand it, but you definitely riding up and down. You learn it. You kind of built up a tolerance for it, and I was able to pay off like my $15,000 with the credit card debt with it, and that's kind of how it got me debt free with the crypto earnings. So I saw that there's a lot of potential there. There's a lot of strength and power in trading and with the markets that we have there. And even though I don't like trading because I had a bad taste in 2008 when that crashed, and I was saving lots of money in my 401k or whatever, and get that cut in half, I was like, wow. I pulled out. I didn't know what to do, and then of course it took off. But then I lost my job and everything, so I took out of my 401k into a Roth IRA, and ended up cashing that out for paying donor shot bills and stuff like that. So anyways, I was like, oh man, I really I see the potential, but I really don't I like trading, but I have to learn it, and that's how I started to manually trade on BitMEX and learning about patterns, Elliott waves and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, it looks like patterns is kind of where it's at, and the indicators, MACD, all that stuff. I didn't really use as I was manually trading, just recognizing patterns and kind of repeating those patterns and being positioned before the patterns happen, and also putting some risk management in between, so that if it goes against you, you can then go in that same direction. So I've been reading lots of books about crypto trading, forex stuff, and kind of applying those strategies. So I have some more down the line that I want to do to catch big waves, and kind of continually learn about these strategies and automate them, so that we can spend more time with our families and our kids and instill values to them. I feel like a lot of families, a lot of divorces are happening today, and I think a lot of it is just because of money fights, and with all that pressure, we're just never home. We're not home for our children, and eventually the parents get divorced, and then the kids grow up without a mom and dad, and they don't know what they're doing. They're just kind of lost to it, and it just perpetuates a generation of divorces, and they don't have anyone to help them be a better father, a husband, or mother, or wife, and it's just a mess. So I hope to instance, leave make a difference, I'd say, by helping families stay together, and not have to have money fights, and be able to be there for the children and instill values to them and make memories, really. And because eventually, with the fractional reserve banking and how it just further enslaves us into trying to pay off this debt that we can never pay off, it takes us from it takes our time from them and from being there for them, and it just kind of makes the world more broken every day in this broken system where we have to consume more every day to keep the system up and going. Otherwise, we can't service that debt, and the whole system collapses back in. So there just has to be more and more debt servitude. They work more and more harder every year as inflation rises, and there's gonna be a breaking point somewhere where it's like, you know what, I'm working 40 hours, 80 hours a week for peanuts, and we're all gonna be broke millionaires like Venezuela, where we have so much extra cash. We're like making 100K a year, but we're still broke at the end of the day. And who knows, it's gonna be like 500,000, 1 million someday, and we're still scraping by. I was like, what's going on, right? So it'll be kind of a different type of what's it called, depression, where not just there's not enough money and we're on food lines. It'll just be like a opposite, where there's this worthless money and we have so much of it that we can't get anything for it. It's just not worth anything, kind of depression. So hope you guys understand and kind of see this perspective of it. link those resource videos for you guys to check out too. Watch them. You guys really want to understand and learn about it. I guess I did all the story within one video. um, and yeah, if you guys resonate with what you hear, you want to be part of my Wolfpack group and be part of the family, just click the link below and learn more about this AutoTuner and how crypto can help you with your life and protect yourself. And as I transition on to moving towards more like prepping, homesteading, creating your own food, hunting, I'm really interested and fascinated on all that stuff. And basically, homesteading is what it is. Being self-sufficient, and because if one day it does collapse, if you're in the city, there's I mean, all this foods in the supermarket's gonna be cleared up within a couple of days, and you have like maybe pigeons. I guess you could shoot down for food, but eventually you're gonna run out of food because the whole system's gonna collapse, right? And it just kind of depends how bad. I really don't know how bad it is, whether if there's gonna be World War III, if there's gonna be an attack here or not. But as long as our military is out on the offense, I think we could just maybe ride the wave, take care of it by not playing in the fiat dollar system, and be able to provide for your own food. Basically, if you can make your own food, you don't need to go to a grocery store and pay their inflated prices, right? So that's kind of my take on it. Thank you guys. If you have any questions about this video, definitely comment below on this, and I'll get back to you. And I can make more videos if you have questions about other things that you want to focus on, and go from there. So thank you so much for watching, listening to my story, and we'll talk to you then. Bye.